Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Exodus Gaming. I'm Outer Exodus, and I'm joined today by fellow dev and Star Trek Armada 3 creator Maxloef, also known as Maxloef to the dev team.
That's how Chris likes to pronounce it. Hi, people.
Yes, that's how Gul Dukat likes to pronounce it. And today I figured I'd talk to him a little bit about what he's doing, what the mod team's been up to, maybe a little bit about what's coming up, and kind of get an idea of maybe where we're heading. So,
Oh, that's a big. That's going to take hours to explain that. I mean, people are not. There's so much going on. How can we expect people to understand?
yes, well, you have a lot going on right now, and we're all kind of
That is.
getting into the starting to get ready to start work on Axanar. So, but
Oh wait, we were going to tell people that. Yeah,
yes, well, we already
Axanar is not a secret anymore.
yes, we did put a link to the Axanar mod DB page on our DB page. So yes, it is
Which you
definitely
should
not a secret
definitely
anymore.
like, and you should definitely subscribe to this channel.
Yes,
You
we
subscribed yet? You
may or may
subscribed yet?
not. So Max, now that 1.2 is out and we're working on the last little bit of Star Trek Armada 3 bugs and added in stuff, so on and so forth. What, as having created the mod, what does it actually feel like that it's almost done?
It doesn't feel done.
It does.
That's the simplest way I can say. I mean, it doesn't feel done. There's always stuff I want to do. There's always stuff I want to improve, make better, and just make new things for it, which I'm actually doing with the new add-on, which we're probably going to talk about later.
Yep. So, for instance, you had always been one. At least when I first joined the team, you were very big on. You wanted all of the models we used to be our own custom models. All of our particle
Yep,
effects. You basically wanted everything in
in
called
house.
ARMS to be in house. Yes, and as everyone can probably see from some of the pictures you released, you're working very hard on that. Actually,
Yeah, a lot of the old models are going to get redone or are being redone. Some of, not all of them, but some of the ones that I particularly felt like could be better. Some of them I had retextured before. I just felt like they didn't have the quality that it could have. Weirdly enough, because we did a lot of the other factions, for example, the Cardassians is almost entirely custom made. Um, at times, it felt like the Cardassian faction was a better built faction because of all the custom models in the Federation. So I'm personally right now working on a lot of Federation stuff that is getting redone to look better, which is some of it is for 1.2 and some of it is for the add-on which we're going to talk about.
yep. So some of the models you still have planned to redo. Do you have any off the top of your head?
Well, I'm currently working on the ambassador class, which you saw earlier,
Yep.
and with earlier for the people watching this, that was literally 5 minutes ago. There's the constellation which I want to redo, and I want to do at least a retexture of the Nova. And I know the Nova's been requested by a couple of people, but
Yep.
times to be
And
redone.
I keep requesting the lighter of the saber.
Yeah, that might be done because we talked about that in private.
Well, I can at least say what I've been asking for. Oh well, no big deal.
No, but the saber model is most likely going to get a slight tweak over, even though I'm not entirely agreeing on the fact that it should have a lighter hull color, but difference of
Well,
opinion.
yeah, I don't know. If it does, cool. If it doesn't, it's still an excellent model. So we can't, and that is definitely one of our in-house models.
Oh yeah, I spent ages getting the annoying hull texture to look at least right when it came to the Aztecing, and
Hmm.
there's quite a few conflicting sources of what color certain parts are of the saber.
Yeah, that's part of the problem with a lot of those first contact models. Is the actual CGI models were lost and everything that comes out is
No,
kind of
that's not true. The only one that was lost was in Norway.
well, yeah, the Norway.
And the Norway is, of course, it's a beautiful ship design, and I'm thinking of also redoing that because there are certain elements of it, the current model, which are wrong, even though it looks nice.
Hmm.
And there's such little things. I mean, I'm very nitpicky when it comes to things like that, and I just want to get them to look right, and in the sense that will give the player a better sense of authenticity when they look at things and go like, yeah, that's how it's supposed to look. Not like it's some sort of cheap knockoff of something.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and you being nitpicky, that's something I learned very early on in the dev team. Max
Oh,
is
come on.
about the
Yeah, that when it
most.
came to the icons, oh
Yes.
God. I have a very set vision of how I'd like to see it. And I can be very strict when it comes to that. But once people find their 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 know-how and kind of anticipate what I want in the things I get made or I'm creating, then over time most people at least they do catch on. I know Exodus here. He in the beginning, he and I didn't see very eye to eye on how certain icons should look, but in the end, we all kind of came together, and it became well, as it just became a process where I didn't even have to look at the icons. I just trusted him to get them right.
Yeah, and I think the last few batches of icons I did to you were in the several hundred, and yeah, you didn't even look through them. You're just like, yeah, I trust you at this point. The first couple batches were, oh yeah, don't do this, don't do that. I want this instead of that. But that's part of new
It's how
members
you
of a
get
team
started, isn't
anywhere.
it?
Yeah, exactly. You
It's how
got
you
to
get
work
started
out.
with a project.
You got to work out different ideals until you get to be a coherent team, and we definitely were that by the end. I mean,
We
all
still are.
yeah. I mean, all the I'm talking before the last December release. The amount of stuff that the whole team got done in that last week was
Oh,
ridiculous.
that was insane. There, despite how little it seemed that there still had to be done to players, it seemed there were so many things that still had to be done behind the scenes, and it was all the little stuff, all the little polish. Now, some people might think that it's easy creating a couple of icons, but when it comes to when you get over 100, 200 icons, I mean, we have over 500 icons in a single file.
And
Now,
we have two
as this
files.
we have the stock sins file has is full of icons, which is like 1024 by 1024 with bits and pixels. We have two files full of buttons, which are the sizes 1024 by 4096. Now, in each of these sheets is 4 rows of icons, and those 4 rows of icons are again subdivided into the 4 states of those icons, which are like, you've got your neutral state is when it's not pressed. There's the mouse over state. When you hover over it, it changes color. And there's the pressed one, and then there's the one where it's disabled. And for each one, you've got to make so for each icon, you've got to make 4 separate little icons, which are each slightly different, just to make it so that as a player, you know when you're clicking on it or when you're just hovering over it. And uh, the amount of work that Exodus and other members of the team put into it is staggering, and it's if you when you see the files, I'm looking at it right now, and I think we could probably show it in this video. When you see those files, you're gonna go like, wow. And some of these icons, like on the last sheet, they have icons that are just for the little thing that pops up when you hover over ship at the bottom right corner. You
Yeah,
that's how much effort we put into it. We just create an extra icon just for that little place.
yeah. Yeah. I got to the point where I was like Gul Dukat at the end of our 1.1 release or whatever it was in December, 1.2. I don't even remember at this point. But he was like, if I see another icon for the next couple months, I'm gonna scream.
And he did.
Yes, he did a few times, but it's okay. We love Gul Dukat. So
So yeah, that's what happened back then, and I mean that shows how much work goes on into a project like this, and that's just the little things. That's just the behind the scenes things. That's not even the big stuff like ship creation and balancing. I mean, this is just the last little bit of polish. I mean, the amount of work that goes into a project like this is almost unbelievable.
yeah, especially when you're changing absolutely everything, as several other mods for Sins can probably attest to. It's when you're changing everything about a base game, it gets ridiculous. So, and then there's Max, who decides to build on top of it and do what are we calling it? An expansion, an add-on, a standalone
I'd
expansion?
like to use this term, which I'm borrowing from the game industry, which is a term some people loathe, but it's what it is. It's an expand alone.
Ah, that makes sense.
It's a standalone expansion which is going to change CTA to be very different.
So basically,
It's
players will
to the
have
point where it won't be called CTA anymore. Yeah. Oh,
right.
sorry.
Players will have two separate versions of Armada 3 that they can play. One
Yes.
which will be Call to Arms, which will be the Dominion War timeline, and one will be, as you decided, the Lost Era timeline.
The Lost, yes, the exact island will be called the Lost Years, which it doesn't take place in the entire the Lost Era timeline because what most people consider the Lost Era is from basically the end of Star Trek 6 or the beginning of Star Trek 7. So that's
Yep.
the Star Trek Generations up to TNG. So like it stops when TNG begins.
It's a very
However,
large chunk of time.
yeah, it's a chunk of time which we know least about. It's the
Yep.
years of Captain Sulu, the years of Captain Harrison, the Rachel Garrett, the captains of the Enterprise B and C, and where I'm taking making this island take place is kind of in the middle, because there's two things that I want to show in this world. Well, one is that mystery gap there, and the other is the Cardassian Wars, which was mentioned in TNG a lot, but you didn't see a lot of it, even though it did take place over a couple of decades.
Yep.
Um, so the exact timeline of which the mod will take place is just from the destruction of the Enterprise C um, to all the way until the Battle of Wolf 359, because with that it allows us to show a lot of unique ship designs which we haven't seen before or have only seen very little of. For example, the ships from the Wolf 359 battles, which would be the
Yep.
Niagara, the Challenger, Cheyenne. Even though some of these are really really nice looking ships.
Some of them have made their way into Call to Arms in the form of call-ins and stuff,
Yes.
but they haven't really been spotlighted or featured very heavily.
Yeah, they don't have a really big role. They're not that strong. They're not that useful. They're nice to have, but if you can build a couple of more Akiras, you usually do that.
Right. And
At least I do.
yeah, I
Any
think I
decent
think
player
uh,
would.
I think most players would opt on the Akira. So, but and for this year, obviously, like we talked, I'll probably be working with you getting some more icons in, and but
Yeah, most likely.
I look forward to it. By the way, I must say.
Yay!
But will you be doing what else do you want to include in the expansion other than we talked about Federation, but all
It's
these
it's
other
gonna
empires are
change.
also
It's
there.
gonna change all the factions somewhat. The Borg are gonna get scrapped. They're just gonna get. They're not gonna be playable in it. While, for example, the Cardassians will have the Dominion part removed and have basically it replaced with more Cardassian ships. I mean, we don't know much about the Cardassian, how they were before.
Yeah, very true.
It's very
It's another
open
one
at
of
this
those
point.
lost era tales is that you don't know. I mean, I don't think it ever said in Star Trek when actual first contact between the Federation and Cardassians was.
It doesn't say it. It does. I think it does never specifies it specifically.
Yeah, so there's
I always personally figured it would be somewhere like during. It was somewhere after Star Trek 6. I think I would personally not be surprised if it was discovered by the Enterprise B or C.
yeah, that would make sense. Put it right smack in the middle of the lost timeline, probably at the early point. A
You
little
know what?
bit
I'm going to look it
before,
up.
I think, a little bit before when you're gonna play it. So
Yes, it would be.
now, one big thing that you did kind of show off was the what is it, the prototype ambassador class that you revealed on the site.
Yes, yes. Now, despite what some people think, this is not going to replace um, the existing ambassador. It is going to be a separate thing, a separate ship on its own. And what it will be is it will probably be called the Probert class, named after Andrew Probert, who designed the ship. It's the design that was originally going to be the Ambassador class slash the Enterprise C, and in my eyes, it's a lot more sleeker design than the Ambassador ever was. It makes a lot more sense in my book.
Yeah, you can definitely see aspects of the Galaxy and the Excelsior in it. A
Yes.
lot more so than you can, I think, in the what has come to be known as the canon ambassador.
Yeah, to my
Um,
opinion, the canon ambassador always shared more with the original
Constitution. Yeah,
Constitution than it ever did with the Excelsior.
yeah, with that giant deflector dish, I do agree with you. So yes. Now, Obviously, the why you chose it is because you think it's more of a fit between the
It's
two
a pretty
classes.
ship.
It's a pretty ship, and you did take a little bit of how do you say it, artistic license with the look of the
Yeah,
ship a little bit.
I took some creative liberty with it. I smoothed out some lines because there was this wobble in the deck and I never liked it, so I removed that and I made it more of I gave it more of a flow, and I changed the pylons also to be more Excelsior like, kind of a mix between Excelsior and Galaxy pylons.
Any idea on what kind of ship you want to make it?
It will be a capital ship, and it will probably be in between the Ambassador and the Galaxy. I figured I'd give it a place of which it was originally going to be somehow.
Now, being the timeline going up to Wolf 359, the Galaxy will probably be what, the top end capital ship,
The Galaxy will definitely be the strongest capital ship that you as a Federation player can build.
kind of the equivalent of the Sovereign in Call to Arms.
Yeah, that would be a really good analogy.
Um, and anything in the way of, you may not have given thought to it yet, but like neutral events. Are we going to keep the
Well,
same ones?
yes and no. Considering the Borg are going to get removed as a playable faction, the Borg are going to become a event. You're going to have a Borg cube that will appear, and that will most likely be in the style of like the best of both worlds Borg cube.
So a little bit less green, more kind of
More pipey
yeah. I was going to
stuff
say
like that.
more paperclippy type stuff to put on
Yeah,
top.
that's a good way to say it. It's just more paperclippy because it kind of was, wasn't it?
Yep, it was. Then they actually have said that they used a lot of paper clips on that model.
I also heard that they used a lot of like when you get a model kit and you have all the leftover
Yep, they
lines.
used a
I
lot of
heard they
that
use a
too.
lot of that as well.
Yep, and they turned it into a beautiful looking ship. So on to Axanar. What can
Ah,
we
yes.
officially reveal? Well, new Axanar website. Might as well talk about that since it's something fairly new.
Yeah, it's on ModDB. It's a new ModDB page specifically for Axanar. I want everybody here who follows this or watches Armada 3 to go check it out because it's gonna get pretty. We're gonna make it pretty like we did the Armada 3 website.
Now, again, I know I've talked to some people who think Axanar is much further along than it is because they've seen you do videos of ships already in game. But I think literally that's just you made a model and replaced the stock ship in game and didn't put any other.
That's all I did. Right
Yes.
now, Axanar is at a very early stage. To be fair, the actual add-on that I'm doing is in a later stage, simply because for the add-on there's a lot less to do. With Axanar, we're starting from the ground up again, so we're doing we're starting from scratch.
Yeah, and completely different from what little we've planned out in our meetings. It's going to be a very different play than Called Arm as well.
This, you can barely if you've played CTA and then you're gonna play this, you're gonna be like, is this the same thing? Because it's so gonna be different. It's gonna be so different. You don't know what you're gonna see when you do
Yeah,
play it.
it'll be a very large change, and I think it'll be good because you have one where it focuses on fleets and one where it focuses not on fleets, and it'll be a very good contrast, I think, because oftentimes when you get two different mods from the same mod team, they're basically clones of each other, just look different. And one of the reasons I'm proud to be part of the mod team because we're taking on a completely different aspect and a completely different challenge with Axanar.
Oh, definitely,
So, are we getting most of the whole team back together for Axanar?
pretty much.
I wasn't aware of many people who were basically said no, that they didn't want to come back.
No, so far it seems that everybody's come back for Axanar. We've got a few which have less time.
Yep.
I personally have less time myself because of the girlfriend that's come along these days.
And
So
yes, anyone who knows Max knows that's as shocking as the dev team does.
thanks,
Yeah,
buddy.
anytime. No, he is a good
These
guy. He's
people
just a
don't
little
know me at
crazy.
all.
Yes. But no, some people have less time, so I know, for instance,
Development's a
me,
bit slow.
I'll be looking to expand more than just a 2D artist to kind of pick up some of the time that's lost from other people, and I think there are others that will as well. And I believe you're still trying to push GSR to join us, aren't you?
I think he's pretty much said yes.
Well, if I think at this point, if you say jump, he'll say how high. So,
No, no, that's Zermi.
oh, that's Jeremy. Okay, yes, more MTG guys for those of you that don't know who we're talking about.
Best way to get in contact with the dev team: join MTG.
Yeah, with I know Killa BC is on there a
Official.
lot. LV Riachi, you make appearances from time to time. So
I
does Gul
randomly pop
Dukat
into
even. So
videos.
yeah, you randomly pop up in videos as you did in I think it was the Cobra Kai video on GSR 69's channel.
I think it was the thingy video, the War Thunder one.
Yep, that's the War Thunder. War Thunder Cobra Kai, I think he called it.
Ah.
We were both in Cobras, and you randomly show up and use very interesting language. um, maybe one question that some people might have is why Axanar?
Well, it's a really incredible universe that Alec Peters and his team are creating. And it's kind of like the Lost Years. It's a era that isn't very much tread yet. It's the era between Enterprise and TOS, and we know that the Federation and the Klingons had a very big war, and it was very interesting. And when I saw the ship designs that they came up with, it kind of tickled my imagination. It was like, I really like what they're going with, and I was hoping to be a part of it. And with this, I can be in my own way.
Yep, I completely agree with you on the ships. I mean, they look absolutely perfect, dead on between Enterprise and the original series. It bridges that
A
gap
few
perfectly, I
things,
think.
a few things that J.J. Abrams, or at least his team, got somewhat right.
Yep, were the other Federation ships other than the JJ Enterprise.
Yep.
So yes, and I'm all for
There were
that.
several
And
big changes to them, though, of course, but
yes, but they fit the part. I think is what is the biggest
they
thing.
definitely do.
So yes, and I believe had we actually talked to them at all about Axanar?
Yeah, they know about it. They like it. They support it. I haven't talked to them in a while because I've been so busy with everything.
Yeah, understandably. You've been kind of churning out models like a freaking assembly line here lately.
Yeah, I kind of have been. Uh, don't remind me.
So, some people might remember when we were somewhat sold on the doing it for Homeworld Remastered
Yeah, we
instead of
switched
Sins.
out of that.
Yeah. Um, why ultimately did we decide to stick with Sins
It's
as
very
a medium?
simple. The tools weren't released yet, and we kind of got back into Sins playing it. I mean, despite that it's a very limited engine, we know how to work it, and doing homework, we'd have to learn a completely new engine. And well, yeah, that's one of the main reasons.
I think I know when I talked to the other guys, some of it was again the empire building where there is not quite as much of that in Homeworld.
Yes, that's kind of part of
So,
the game we like.
yep. So very very good point. And I know there were a lot of people that were upset when we said we were going with Homeworld. Probably the fact that we're sticking with Sins, I think, is a good thing because, like you said, no mod tools for Homeworld yet, and we know what we're doing. So, and one little hint on Axanar: Do you are you willing to discuss fleet sizes at all, or do you want to kind of
A
hold that
lot
off?
smaller than in CTA.
Yes, I think one can say we're planning on putting the emphasis on individual ships more so than fleets.
Yes.
So again, a very vast change from CTA. And finally, just one last question I have for you. Why? I know I've seen this a few times of people talking about Romulans in Axanar. Why ultimately just Federation and Klingon?
Well, one, it allows us to put a lot more detail into Federation and Klingon factions, especially their ships. Um, and secondly, is because the Romulans didn't do anything really during that era. They were around, but they were kind of like in their own space.
Yep, a lot more isolationist than anything else. I think.
Yes.
Very good point. Yep, and I personally very much look forward to, like you said, putting a lot more time and emphasis into just two races than what did we settle on with CTA 5, 6
Yep.
technically. Cardassian and Dominion kind of being separate yet the same. So hopefully it'll mean a lot less frenzied nights of trying to get stuff done.
Yep.
But yeah, so definitely keep a lookout on that new Axanar website. It is Axanar Strategic Operations, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Yep. So keep a lookout on that website for updates. I'm sure as Max and some of us get further along with the Lost Ear expansion, we'll probably start more Axanar stuff. In the meantime, keep checking out Call to Arms website. Max has several more ships he'll be revealing over in the coming future.
Oh yes, plenty.
So, Max, thank you for joining me today. I
Yeah, it
appreciate
was
it,
great.
and hopefully
Should
everyone got some new information, some new insight about how the team works, how we're going to work in the future, and what we plan on releasing. So, if you like what you saw, like, comment, and subscribe. Definitely check out the new Axanar Strategic Operations website, and I will see all of you later.